from this.
It's going.
Okay, wait,
Okay.
come on.
Good morning, I'm Rippu Yadav from India. I'm just researching for my inclusive education policy research on Colombia. So I'm just taking an interview with speech language pathology. Pathologist in this school. It's a very interesting school. There are good implementation of the policy, I think so, in a Colombian education, inclusive education policy, because I'm just looking in this school for the ground basis on a practical way. There are very good things to doing here with special children and normal children. It's a very superior example school for the inclusive education in this country. Thank you very much for accepting my interview, sir. The question is, you are a speech language pathologist, yeah?
Yes, I'm a special language therapist from National University. I studied in this place and I know about disability, but I decided to continue working with people with disability because they have the university gave me the opportunity to know about this specific topic. For example, during my major, my degree, I participate in different spaces. For example, I was working in the construction of a politic here about disability and education. In Spanish, Decreto 1421 is the one who give the items or the ideas about how implement the education, special education, the inclusive education in our city. This
Okay.
is very important.
Thank you very much for your answer. Which type of the disabled students you are working with? Like which type of the disability students in this school?
Uh, there are many. We don't focus in the disability, we focus in their skills. But if you want to know that, we have physical disability, we have intellectual disability, psychosocial disability, and intellectual disability. Well, having this really different population, we should implement different strategies in order to give the better education process of age of our students.
Okay, so what is your role? What is your role in this institution for inclusive education? What is
Yeah.
main role?
Okay, I'm a special language therapist, but nowadays I'm working like a pedagogical support professional. This is a role in the pedagogical support department in this school. Well, this is the key of the successful process in inclusion for Liceo Val. Here we have a role which I support the students in different areas. The pedagogical support department found like, well, we have three different important functions here. First, with admission of the students, we evaluate, we do a really specific assessment, we review reading, writing, social behavior, in general behavior and use of social rules of each of our students, and we say what kind of adaptation the student should take for participate in this school. This is one. The second one, we help the professors, the teachers in all grades with the methodology and how the teacher should implement the, the curriculum and the strategies inside the classroom.
Exactly.
And the third one, I work with children. This is the part that I love about my job because every day I can take some classes with some students. In these classes, I, like a language therapist, I work with the skills. For example, normally I try to work with language skills, but there are some students who need to need well, there are some steps. You are a psychologist, and I guess you understand that. But for example, there are children who have problems with memory, and memory for using the language. First, I should write with memory, with attention, with executive functions, but in order to improve the language skills. There are other things that I do here in pedagogical support, like working with mathematic thinking. I guess this is a concept.
It's an reasoning.
Yes, and I work with dyscalculia. This one about maths. Well, this is an important part of our work because well, there are some students who can give the opportunity in some classes. For example, here we all the children try to take the English classes, but if I have a student with autism and they don't have the abilities because they don't have all the first language in their mind representation, well, in that kind of class, their student isn't be successful. Pedagogical support, working with this kind of child in order to help them yes, with these children in order to improve their skills.
Okay, it's a very interesting. Thank you very much for your answer. And the second thing is this is the traditional school, yeah?
This is not a traditional
It's non-traditional school, yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting because it's a non-traditional like another normal schools. It's not related like this type of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah. So can you explain about what is the non-traditional school? What is the main purpose of this school? Because it's on a very superior everything. I'm just looking in every aspect. So can you explain what is non-traditional education system in Colombia?
Well, our legislation have some rules, but each school can take their own pay, proyecto institucional. Sí, pay.
Our institutional project.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So in that order, he says like, so traditional schools has in the same line as the government.
Okay.
For us, we can change that on part of that.
Okay.
Yes, that's why we became in a no traditional school.
Okay. Alright. So, what you know about the inclusive education policy of Colombia?
Well, there are some rules, and every year we have new guidelines about inclusive education. We work with well, in Spanish, Decreto 1421.
Decree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this decree have an well, we have here in Colombia a period of implementation of this policy. We have for 5 years. This decree was in 2027, the year that the government said all the schools should implement this decree in order to guarantee the inclusion in all schools. Well, when you review the decree, there are some tools that help the health staff in all the schools in the country, and say, for example, you should do PR. It's that in Spanish, Plan Individual de Ajustes Razonables.
PR is a document, a special document, which is referring
Yes,
Arturo. It is a special paper, yes, exactly, like information from our special students.
Okay.
In PR, it contains information about his own process, how he develops, I don't know, math methodology.
Okay.
How will develop Spanish process like that. This is a special document which is in that decree 1421.
Okay.
It's very important, of course, for his own department. Of course, he's specialized in that.
Yeah.
of course he understands as much
Yeah,
as you know.
exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much
No,
for your
anytime.
opinion. Like I'm just taking interview with Education Minister of Colombia, ministry officials in Colombia, and rectors and every of the administrative officer because he's in charge of the making policy of inclusive education. You are a very important person because you are working on a very ground way. You are working for the implementation of inclusive education. Yeah. So what you think that in Colombian education policy and implementation are same or policy are saying something different and implementation are saying something? What is your opinion?
Well,
Because I'm just taking a very high level to a very ground level to the interview of the policy of inclusive education because I just taking interview with Minister of Colombia, Education Minister, and now you are working for the ground level. So what is your opinion about it's on a policy and implementation? It's the same or it's little bit different?
okay. Mm, well, this is a really complicated question because I'm only working in this place.
Yeah,
like,
so
pedagogical support.
it's a very important because you are working on a very ground level and you know the reality. What is the reality you are working with on a superior?
Well, I guess here in Colombia we have a different context, and for example, if you try to review these policies in a rural zone, the thing was really different. Is really different that how
Yeah,
we live
exactly.
in the city.
Exactly, it's little bit similar in
Exactly.
all the countries. If you are going any of them, maybe it's in a developed country or a developing country. Little bit similar about the situation, because when you are going for research on the inclusive education policy in a rural area, it's totally different scene from a comparison of the urban area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially for the cities or like this type of these policies, I think is implementation on a very superior way. But when you are going in a rural area, maybe many person don't know about the special or inclusive education.
Exactly. So sometimes you find out strong rules, strong policies,
Yeah,
but in real life, how are they going on? So they're not going on too.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know, as well. Yes, exactly. So that's.
Well, about the policy and the things that was writing in the paper, I guess we have a fantastic development in that
Yeah.
way because well we have, for example, a really beautiful constitution.
Yeah.
We constitution have a lot of things, good things. The same with our politics have guidelines that help the teacher, but the reality is it's really different, or not really different, but in our country that is really multicultural, we have a lot of people, different regions, different weathers. All the things can change.
Exactly.
And here inside the city, we have different institutions. For example, you are here in a private school,
Yes.
but there are other public schools, and they don't have the same system. We have a really high level if you want to compare with a public school. There are other public schools who have a specialization in, for example, deaf people, but there are other ones who specialize in autism, and they only give or try to do inclusion, but that kind of population. But here we change the things. I guess I'm working in this moment in the best place here in Colombia for really inclusive education.
Exactly.
But isn't the reality, because all the things that was right in our laws was a different component in the real life. For example, there are in the I don't know how to explain that. Well, some schools have the volunteer, but don't have the in the public schools don't have the enough staff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for help
exactly.
implementation.
Because
Very good.
I have visited in different countries, like when you are going in a developed country, like European country, like
Not exactly.
you can just see the procedure of implementation of inclusive education, like one special child, and they working on a speech language pathologist, psychologist, special education teacher, music therapist, and many of the professional occupational therapists. Many of the professionals are working for the one children. There are a good superior, like I was in Israel, I just see that place. It's in a very small country, but I think their procedures, their rules, policy are very superior for the example of the world. Very superior example for, like, if one children, there are 5 or 6 professional are working for the one children. I think there are, every people have the opportunity, no matter he is blind, he is special children or the normal children.
That's a very good one in here too. So every student has the opportunity here in this Liceo 1, which is good. And that's why we work in our staff, in order to support them and, exactly, to improve their own skills. That's why here everybody, it's welcome. Here.
Okay.
Yes.
There are other important thing about our legislation. Well, the school have the obligation. Well, here not an obligation. The school try to implement all the things before the legislation, but the medical staff, for example, if there are some children who need a speech and language therapist, the occupational therapist, they receive all the attention, but in health system, not in education system.
Yes.
Here we have not the role of speech and language therapist. I am a pedagogical support professional, and I try to work like that, not like a phonoaudiology in a high school. That's a different role.
Yeah, exactly. So what you, thank you very much for your answer. What do you know about the disability?
Well, about my history in life, well, I know the disability, or why the disability interests me in the university. I was working with some professors in National University. I don't know if you know Dora Munivar. She taught me about the disability, and I have a perspective. I don't know, but I don't know if you know this group of knowledge or this thinking and critical disability studies, but with a Latin American perspective that changed the things, because we try to understand the disability, but with the lens of Latin America, that have a really different experience that, for example, in your country or in European countries. Well, we have an ethical idea about the disability. Well, I am working here in this space because I feel I can follow that idea, because, well, here the student is in the center of the process, not in the last part, and all the staff try to work with the student, but focusing the student.
Okay, thank you. So what do you think about the main challenges for the inclusive education in this country?
Well, I guess here Colombia need to improve the difference between rural areas and urban areas, but in the poor parts of the city with the highest or with the rich people, because these things can have the same legislation don't have the same effect in that population. For example, there are schools who can implement with a lot of technology the inclusive education, but there are other ones when one only teacher need to work with, I don't know, maybe 40 students in the public system education, and it's in a real world. or for example, there are only one pedagogical support teacher in the public school. Here, for example, we work with a team.
Okay. So thank you very much for your good answers. Now we can. I'm just asking us some social demographic information. What is your name?
Well, listen to the
Okay. Where you are working? What is the organization name where you are working? This place.
well, Liceo 1.
Okay. It's a school for the untraditionals. Yeah.
Untraditional. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So. What is your degree? Like, what is your SNA degree?
Yes.
Yes, I am a special language therapist and I have a specialization in care politics.
Okay.
Yes, with gender perspective. My both titles give me the idea about, for example, the intersectionality perspective, but the yes, ethic perspective and all the knowledge that I need for to this job.
Okay. So thank you very much, sir, for these your opinions and good answers of this interview. And I hope so you are just explaining in a very good for the implementation, for the ground level of inclusive education policy in this country. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for your